Welcome to Secure Future Initiative Tech Tips, the show where we talk to Microsoft experts about applying the learnings from the Secure Future Initiative into your environment. My name's Sarah Young. I'm a principal security advocate here at Microsoft, and this is my co-host, Michael. Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Michael Howard. I'm a senior director in the Microsoft Red Team.
Now, let's get our guest on for today. Today, we have Nick. Nick, do you want to introduce yourself as well to our audience?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Wryter, and I work within the Identity Network and Access product group. I actually focus on customer experience, so happy to be here, happy to share with you all the best practices that we provide to our customers.
So today, we're talking about using phishing-resistant credentials, which is in our SFI report, and one of the things we recommend customers do. Now, I'm going to start from the top here, but Nick, what are phishing-resistant creds?
Yeah, so phishing-resistant credentials really are a type of authentication methods designed to prevent phishing attacks, right? So when a bad actor or a malicious actor tries to trick a user to revealing their sensitive information like passwords, these credentials are more secure and actually help that user to basically avoid any kind of attack that's going to happen to them. And that's why we call them phishing resistant.
So we see phishing as a major attack against organizations. You know, it's going after the weakest link, right, which is the human beings. So what is it? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm kind of a bit of a nerd, and I need to know, like, what is it that makes phishing resistant creds phishing resistant?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a credential is considered a phishing resistant if it's designed to prevent unauthorized access, right? So even if the user is unknowingly providing their credentials to a phishing website that's been set up by a malicious actor, they clicked on a link, they went to a website and went through the process of buying something and put in and set up a whole new account, and the attacker grabbed it. The phishing resistant credential really helps you basically prevent that unauthorized access. So if a threat actor tries to steal your credentials, they have nothing to steal because it won't even be registered in the logs that there are credentials there. And that's what makes them, phishing resistant.
So a really good example of that is, say, for example, passkeys, right? So we hear a lot about passkeys as being a phishing resistant credential. And a key, no pun intended, a key part of passkeys is that they actually have a public-private key pair, and the private keys, associated with the passkey. So just entering a password isn't enough, right? The attacker has to get that private key, and usually that private key is held, for example, in a trusted platform module in a TPM in Windows Hello as an example, or perhaps in a TPM on a cell phone. So it's that particular private key that really makes it phishing credential. But my question for you, so phishing resistant creds and passkeys. So what is the difference? I mean, is passkeys a subset of phishing resistant creds? What is the relationship there?
Yeah, I think we get that question a whole lot. I think most customers are trying to get to passwordless. At the end of the day, we understand passwords are bad. A lot of organizations have now gone to password plus MFA, when we've also learned that password plus MFA is not a fully secure method, because guess what? Some of them are phishable, right? And so going passwordless is the way. So when you think about passkeys, right, or you think about phishing resistant MFA, the way Microsoft tries to help a lot of customers is provide them with 3 authentication methods. One, you can use Windows Hello for Business. That's a phishing resistant method. You can use smart cards using leveraging certificate-based authentication that's on the cryptographic smart card that's actually embedded into the intricate circuit. So Mike, you talk about being a nerd, right? On those ICC chips that's on a smart card, you can do certificate-based authentication and basically accomplish phishing resistant MFA. And then lastly, doing FIDO and passkeys is one method of doing that. So there are literally 5 ways of why when you use a passkey, right? Well, what are passkeys? Well, there's a lot of organizations that have their way of showing passkeys. Passkeys provide users a mechanism to have a credential holder to store that credential safely within that within whatever that person has, right? So passkeys come from local devices. They require human interaction, but they're never reused, right? And Michael, you already mentioned this, right? It's an asymmetric key pair where the private key is securely stored, public key is stored with the service, and then it can either be device bound or it can be synced to a cloud platform. So those are the kind of differences in the phishing resistant creds that any user can use.
So Nick, I think you know what I'm going to ask you now. How do we do it? Can you give us a bit of a demo?
Yeah, I mean, let's walk through this really quick. So within the Entra Admin Center, this is where an admin can come and configure passkeys today, right? So passkeys can be done with the Microsoft Authenticator app, which is what we usually advise most customers to do, or for a specific FIDO key, you can put passkeys on a FIDO key. So, you can basically accomplish phishing resistance in those methods. So within the Entra Admin Center, when you go to authentication methods, we already have all these built-in methods already here for you, right? And to set up passkeys, it's as simple as going to that toggle and flipping it on to enable it for users, or you can break it down to a set of group users if you want to test it. We always advise customers, if you want this to work, always start with a test group. So you can pick a group that you want to test this with, and we'll pick group 00. And then you can just save the authentication method to that group, and there you go. You have passkeys turned on for that group. Very simple there. One thing I do want to mention here, though, Entra uses this methodology called authentication strengths, where instead of just limiting your users to one specific phishing-resistant method credential, you can actually open it up for all the different types of phishing-resistant methods that you could use. And so here, you go to authentication strengths, you can now actually create a specific phishing-resistant MFA. And as you can see, even that actually gives you different methods that you can give your users. So Nick can give Michael and his organization multiple methods for how they get into the organization. And as you can see right here, phishing-resistant MFA is already built in. And it shows very clearly here, one, you can use Windows Hello for Business, you can use a passkey with FIDOs, or you can do certificate-based authentication with the smart card, as I mentioned, right? This is what makes it very powerful. You can mix and match different types of authentication and make sure your organization is very secure there.
Nice. Now, this is how you enable it, I guess, at an enterprise level in your tenant, Nick. But I guess there's the other side of this, right? Where folks have to register themselves, and everyone needs to individually register themselves, don't they, before they start this?
Yes, correct. The way that we like to talk about registering passkeys today, we use the Microsoft Authenticator app as a way to store those passkeys, right? So remember, you first need something that you own or something that you have. And this, in this case, is going to be your phone. And on the phone, we have the Microsoft Authenticator application. Most organizations trust Microsoft and actually use Microsoft Authenticator as an MFA method. So now we're actually introducing the phishing-resistant MFA credential with a passkey that can be stored onto that device. So remember, it's local to the device. It needs human interaction. And so when you bind those things together, right, it has that original binding, and it uses that hardware-based authentication where the user has to show that. So let's take a look at what that looks like. How to put a passkey onto your Microsoft Authenticator app. First, I type in my username, and then my admin has already given me a temporary access pass. This is a temporary phrase that he gave me that I could use to bind myself to create this passkey. It's going to ask me to flip a setting onto my iPhone, which is going to allow Authenticator app as a passkey provider on my cell phone. Here, it asks me to either enter my facial recognition or my PIN number, and then that Authenticator is now going to be an autofill provider. It creates a passkey for me. Once again, it asks me for a human gesture. It creates that passkey, and I hit done, and now that passkey is stored in my Authenticator app. That's it.
All right, so I really want to call everyone's attention to a comment that you made, which is you said phishing-resistant MFA. I think it's really important that people understand that phishing-resistant MFA is MFA, but it's the next evolution of MFA being obviously phishing-resistant, because some MFA mechanisms are not phishing-resistant. Is that a true statement?
That is a true statement. While traditional MFA can still be phished, like SMS or email codes, phishing-resistant MFA methods use more secure channels, right? Such as push notifications from a trusted app or a hardware token that require physical interaction. That's the evolution that we want to see, Michael.
Perfect.
Now, I have learned a lot about phishing-resistant creds today. And, well, of course, in Microsoft, we all already use them. But if you're interested in learning more about this or any other SFI customer recommendations, you can visit aka.ms/SFI Tech Tips. And Nick, thanks so much for joining us. And for our audience, we will see you on the next episode. See you later.